Welcome to the lecture series in computer science. We are seeing a series of lectures in the subject Python programming. In today's session, we will be seeing topics on the scope of variable, recursive function, and we will be seeing about the string functions that are used in the Python language. As the contents of today's session are, we will be seeing about the scope of variable. What is the scope? We will be classifying the scope into two types. One is the local scope, other one is the global scope. Then we will be seeing with the examples with respect to the local and the global variables. Then we will be seeing about the recursive functions. As well, we will be seeing about the string functions with varied examples. So as the first topic in this session is concerned, we will be seeing about the scope of variables. What is the scope of variables? The scope of variables, it determines accessibility of a variable at various portions of the program. How you are going to access the variable? In which part you have declared it? Whether the variable has a limited scope or whether it has a global scope. So that will be determined and that is said to be the scope of a variable. And there are different types of variables are used, and each and every variable has its own scope, either local or global. Now let us see what is a local variable and what is a global variable. What is a local variable? The variables that are defined inside the function which has local scope, that is, the lifetime of a variable will be only within the function. The variable will not live when it has been called outside the function. The scope of a local variable is defined inside a function. So within a function, def, my dear viewers, you might be knowing how to declare a function. So when I am going to give it as def some function name as gan, and within the scope of the definition of the function, the life of the variable resides. Then this local variable, it can be accessed only inside the function in which it is defined. Then now let us see about the global variables. As far as the global variables are concerned, the variables that are defined outside the function which has global scope, which means such variable, it can be used even outside the function, and the same variable can be used even within the function. So such a variable we call it as the global variable. Variables that can be accessed throughout the program, my dear viewers, kindly make a note of it, which can be accessed throughout the program by all other functions is called as global variable. As far as a local variable is concerned, the lifetime of that particular variable will be made available only within the function. As far as a global variable is concerned, the same variable, it can be used for all the functions. So that is the reason we are given it as it can be used throughout the program. The variable can be used throughout the program. Now let us see an example with respect to local variable and the global variable. Now my dear viewers, with respect to the other programming languages, you would have, when you have been asked to declare a value for a variable, what will you do is you will be declaring it something like this: x equal to 1, y equal to 2. Say for example, if you are going to work with a programming language called C or C++ or Java or whatever language it may be, you declare it in that manner. But only Python, it supports like this type of declaration, which means it as well supports x equal to 1 and y equal to 2. So now I can declare like this: x comma y equal to 1 comma 2. What happens over here? So this x variable will take the value, the first value that has been declared. So it will take the value of 1, and this y variable will take the second value, which is said to be 2. And my dear viewers, kindly have it in mind, this Python language, it as well supports multiple data types in the same declaration. For example, it can be something like this: x comma y equal to 1 comma 2.5. What does it mean? this 1 belongs to integer data type, whereas this 2.5 belongs to decimal data type, which is nothing but float. So, the same declaration, one and only in Python, it supports both, or any data type will be supported in the same declaration. So, as far as this example is concerned, we have x comma y equal to 1 comma 2, and then we have the definition def sum x comma y. So, you are defining, and the name of the function is to be sum equal to x plus y, you are returning sum. What will be the result when I am going to print it? Here I have it as print sum 5 comma 10, print x comma within quotes comma close the quotes comma and y. The output will be 15. Why? Here within this sum I am calling two values. So, these values will be used over here, whereas if I am going to declare the variable outside the function, as I have declared here x comma y equal to 1 comma 2, this becomes a global variable, this x and y becomes a global variable, whereas this x and y which was declared internally within the function, it becomes a local variable. So, print sum of 5 comma 10, the result becomes 15, whereas in the case of print x comma y, what happens? It prints the global variable value. So, it prints 1 comma 2. So, this is the difference between a local variable and global variable. So, for an easier understanding, what you could do is, when you have this definition of sum, these things you indent it, and this thing you do not indent it. So, what happens? You can easily find the difference. So, now let us see one other example for the declaration of global and local variable. When you are going to define a variable within a function, but if you are going to define it with a keyword called global, even if such a variable, if it has been declared or defined within the function, it can be used outside too. So, we will see an example of it. Now, I have a variable called total or the tot equal to, I am initializing the value for the variable tot as 0. I am defining a function. In the function definition, I am giving the name of the function as add, defining the function. So, def add comma arg1 comma arg2. What are arg1, arg2? My dear viewers, in our previous session we saw about different types of passing arguments within a function. We saw about the required argument. So, this arg1 and arg2 are said to be arguments that are passed within the function. So, def add arg1 comma arg2 global total. If I am not going to give it as global, what happens? This total, it will be treated as an internal variable, as a local variable. If I want to use this variable as a global variable, I can either give it as, use a keyword called global, or I can use it, or I can declare it outside the function. Since I have declared inside the function, and if I want the same variable to be used outside the function, I will be using a keyword called global total. So, total equal to arg1 plus arg2. So, print value as total, return total. Here and all, what happens is that as the value, the variable, the local variable pertaining to this will be used, but when I am going to use, or when I am going to call the function, or when I am going to invocate the function, internally my value would have been 15. Externally, for tot if I am going to have, or total if I am going to have over here, this will become 0. Since I have declared it as global, I have mentioned it as global, it prints the same output both within the function as well outside the function. That is the reason in both the places as an output we get the result as 15. For the input 10, 5, we get the result as 15. So, now let us move on to the second topic, recursion. What is recursion? Recursion denotes a repetition. You call again and again, you call within itself. A program that calls within itself is called as recursion. A function that invokes itself is referred to as recursion. My dear viewers, it is a very important examination point of view question. What is recursion? It is a frequently asked 2-mark question. For function invoking itself is referred to as recursion. When a program employs recursion, the function invokes itself with a smaller argument which calls by itself. For example, computing factorial of 5. It involves, if I want to compute factorial of 5, what is factorial of 5? What is the resultant of factorial of 5? How do you calculate factorial of 5? Factorial of 5 is calculated as, if it is a 5 factorial, you declare like this in your mathematics. It has been determined as 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. What is the result? 5 4s are 20, 23s are 60, 62s are 120. So, 5 factorial is 120. What is happening internally? When I want to find the result of 5 factorial, I need to know the computation value of 4 factorial. What is 4 factorial? 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. 4 3s are 12, 12 2s are 24. 24 into 1 is 24. So, I need to know the answer for 4 factorial. If I want to know the answer for 4 factorial, I need to know the answer for 3 factorial. What is 3 factorial? 3 into 2 into 1. 3 into 2 is 6, 6 into 1 is 6. So, if I want to know it for 3 factorial, I need to know the result for 2 factorial. What is 2 factorial? 2 into 1 is 2. So, if I want to calculate 5 factorial, I need to know the answer for 4 factorial, for 3 factorial, for 2 factorial and for 1 factorial. Then only I can calculate. So, which means you are calling the same program, same function of a program again and again. That is called as recursion. For example, for computing factorial 5, it involves computing factorial 4, computing factorial 4 involves computing factorial 3, computing factorial 3 involves computing factorial 2, computing factorial 2 involves computing factorial 1, but you are going to work with the same function. Instead of writing a so lengthy code, with a very small code, you can call the same functionality to work out, because as you know, computer is an idiot box. It is we as a coders have to train the computer in such a way that it works fine. So, anyway the logic is same. If it is of 3 factorial, you are going to go till 1, 3 to 1 and you are going to multiply. If it is of 4 factorial, you are going to minus 1 on 1 and you are going to multiply 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. If it is of 5 factorial, you are going to minus 1 from 5, 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. So, the logic is same. So, such a kind of working is called as recursion. My dear viewers, I repeat the definition. The function which invokes itself is referred to as recursion. Now, a recursive function, it terminates if with every recursive call the solution of the problem downsizes and moves towards a base class. What is a base class over here? It is said to be 1. So, how it gets downsized? From 5 it downsizes to 4, from 4 it downsizes to 3, from 3 it downsizes to so on, and it downsizes to 1. 1 is said to be the base class. A base or the termination case is a condition where the problem can be solved without further recursion. Every recursive function must have a base condition. So, kindly make a note, every recursive function must have a base condition, then only it can call itself. Recursion can lead to an infinite loop, that is also possible, that is a disadvantage. If the base condition is not met, if you are not specifying a base condition, this recursion, it will go into an infinite loop. My dear viewers, this is again an important 2-mark question as an examination point of view question. What is the disadvantage of using recursion? It might end up in an infinite loop if the base case is not been set. A recursion, it can be a substitute for iteration, where the iterations by and large for people whoever is fresh in coding, they find iterations to be pretty complex. So, for them recursion may be an easier methodology. So, recursion can be a substitute for iteration, wherein the iteration solution is complex. Now, let us see a simple example of a recursion. Let us see the example of the factorial of a number. Let us see the example of factorial of 5. So, this is a simple program that calculates the factorial of 5. Define, definition of function name of the function is factorial of n colon. Why do I put colon? If I press enter, what will happen? If you have colon and if you press enter in the script mode, it automatically indents, the cursor automatically indents and moves inside. If n equal to 1, why have I used double equals? Why have I not used single equals? It is a conditional operator. When you are going to check the condition, you are supposed to give double equals. If you are going to give it as an assignment operator, you are supposed to use only single equal. So, since we are going to check the condition, we have used double equal. If n equal 1 colon, press and enter, it again indents, return 1. What does it mean? What is 1 factorial? 1 into 1 is 1. So, 1 factorial is 1. Else return n into factorial of n minus 1. What is n we have said? We have classified n as 5. We wanted the result for 5 factorial. So, as of now 5 into factorial of 5 minus 1. What is 5 minus 1? 4. So, 5 into 4 factorial we are going to find. Then since it is returning, what will happen? It goes directly to the function. It goes over here. Again comes to the else part. Return n into factorial of n minus 1. Actually, we have already 5. 5 into 4 into factorial of n minus 1 is 3. 3 factorial. Again it returns. Similarly, you will be getting the result as 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 factorial. 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1 factorial. When you are going to get 1, if n equal to 1, return 1. So, 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. What is the result when it has been multiplied? You get the output as 120. So, hence we receive the output as 120. That illustrates the recursion. Now, let us move on to the third topic, string functions. We would have seen about the usage of string data type in one of the sessions, but how the same data type, how the string acts as a function in Python programming is pretty important. And if you are comfortable in working with the string functions, you will become a great coder as far as Python programming is concerned. If I want to find out, if I have a list of files and if few of my files ends with has an extension of .bmp, what is bmp? Bitmap picture. If it has an extension of bitmap picture and if you want to segregate that bmp files alone, and if you want to classify and if you want to place it as an output, then within text, if I am going to give a set of files, I will be using a function called text dot ends with. Ends with is a keyword. Ends with is a keyword. Make a note of it. Ends with open braces within quotes dot bmp, close the quotes, close the braces. What will happen if I am going to give it as, for example, text equal to gan dot bmp. So, I am using the same text dot ends with dot bmp. Yes, it ends with bmp. So, what happens if it is found? It results in, it gives you a it gives you, or it returns true. Supposing if I have given text equal to gan dot jpg, now this text does not end with bmp, so it returns false. If it has bmp, it returns true, or else it returns false. Then text dot upper, what will happen? Whatever the text may be, for example, if I am going to have it as text equal to guru, what will happen is, if I am going to give it as text dot upper, it will be printing it as guru. Next is text dot lower. If I am going to have an input as text equal to within quotes, why within quotes? Because it is a string, you are supposed to give only within quotes. If I am going to give it as Sidhu, text dot lower, so Sidhu will be printed in lower case. Text dot replace tomorrow to Sunday. So, wherever you find tomorrow in your text, it will be replaced with a string called Sunday. So, now let us see some other functions that are available in strings. Text dot strip. What happens here is, the leading and trailing spaces will get removed. For example, if I am going to give a huge tab space and in the middle of my page I write it as Hari and I press and enter, default delimiter is to be new line. When you get the output, you will be getting the output as Hari at the first cursor level itself. Actually, in the input you would have given it at the 25th cursor position, but this strip, what it does is, it strips the leading space. Since you have given enter, it strips the remaining trailing space and it takes only the word Hari and it prints. Next, text dot find Ganesh. Say for example, as an input, if I am going to give it as text equal to Ramji, then if I am going to give text dot find of Ganesh, it will result in false. If I had given as Ganesh itself, it will result in true. My dear viewers, kindly make a note of it. This false is different from this false. This true is different from the small true. Capital F A L S E is a keyword, this is not keyword. Capital T or U E is a keyword. So, kindly make a note of it when you are doing your coding, because you might encounter the freshers, the fresh programmers might encounter in such errors due to your letharginess. So, kindly take caution and while you are coding it. Text dot split, what will happen? The default delimiter as far as split is concerned is space. As far as print is concerned, the default delimiter was set to be a new line, but as far as split is concerned, split function is concerned, the default delimiter is set to be space. Then text dot starts with. So, when I am going to give default delimiter as space, supposing if I am going to say it as Sidhu has bank account, what happens is that as Here when I am going to give within text, if I am going to give it as Sidhu has bank account. So text dot split, what it will do is it will split Sidhu separately, it will split has separately, it will split bank separately, it will split account separately. That is the specialty of text dot split. Next is text dot starts with XML. So what happens is that as it will check whether you have used a string called as XML. If it is so, if it is available, it will return true, or else it will return false. Then now let us see a program. You have seen so many functions, string functions. So now let us see about a simple program, and you tell me what may be the output. String, here this string is a keyword, equal to I like to learn, string dot swap case, string dot replace learn comma study, print string. What will happen? What will be the output? Here I have given I like to learn. When I have swapped it, what happens is that is internally within the memory, within the storage, within the area where it has been stored, internally this capital I would have been replaced with small I, capital L would have been replaced with small l, then small I would have been made as capital I, capital K, capital E, capital T, capital O, small l, capital E, capital A, capital R, capital N. So, and this has been kept in the buffer, it is not been placed. So, string dot replace learn to study. So, what happens here? I have this, so this will become study. So, now if I am going to print, it will be printing it as I like to study, this will be printed. Now, let us see one other example, text dot count of R. So, what happens? How many R's are there in this program? There are 2 R's. So, the result will be 2. Text dot starts with S. What happens? Here I have the given the input as to be program, it did not start with S. So, what will be my output? It will be false. If it had been started with S, something like storage or save or anything of that sort, Sita Lakshmi, some name, if it starts with S, then the answer would have been true, or else the answer is to be false. Now, in this case text dot ends with M, what will happen? You get the result as true. Text dot find of A, which means you have A, it gives you the position, it gives you the position. What is the position? What is the starting point, starting the index value? The index value starts with 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, A, the position of A is to be 5. If the answer, if A was not found in that given string, it would have returned a value called -1. Now, text dot replaces R to R. So, wherever you have small r's, it will be replaced with capital R. Text dot is digit, it is not a digit, so it returns false. Text dot upper, whatever input that you have given, it will be replaced with uppercase. Text dot lower, whatever input is given, it will be replaced with lowercase. Now, let us summarize this session. We have seen about the scope of variable, we saw about what a local variable is, what a global variable is, how a local variable is used, and how a local variable has been transformed to become a global variable with the help of a keyword called global. And then we saw about recursive function, we saw an example with respect to recursive function as a factorial program as an example, and we saw different string functions, and we saw what a string function is, and we saw many different string functions as an example. Thank you.